And do we have a count? Alrighty, and welcome to ADHD Rewired Weekly Recap, live and uncensored, which is our working title in progress. So how's everybody going? This is where we meet every week to talk about what's going on in our 10-week coaching program and reflect on some of the exercises. This is myself, Coach Brian Entler, with Coach Kristin Marts, and we like to always invite a different point of view, an alumnus or an admin or somebody who has been in and through our program to give us their point of view. Today we have Javier Amore. Hello, Javier. Javier, what was
Hello.
your original season?
26.3 with Eric.
Yes, and now you are currently adminning for Eric in our current ongoing season, season 36. How's that going?
Great. This is my fifth season adminning.
Oh,
So,
I didn't know that. Oh wait, you might beat my record. Watch out.
oh yeah, what's your
Yeah.
record?
I think actually I only did it 4 times, but
Yeah,
I've worked on, I don't know, 8 or 9 seasons now
yeah. Uh,
as a coach and an
oh, that's
admin.
right. Yeah, you're a coach. You're a coach. So yeah. Yeah. So this is my fifth season coach adminning, and it's fantastic. It's great. It's a lot of work, but it's very fulfilling, and it it's a great refresher of what I've learned throughout the years. And it's always great to always keep this information top of mind. So,
Okay, great.
so yeah, it's really great.
And how are you doing, Kristen?
I'm doing all right. I was trying to get the technical thing fixed. So I've got our count up going to keep us on track because we like to make these short and sweet.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Like easily digestible content. And this is just a quick reflection. It's not, planned out content. We just like to talk and reflect as we move through the weeks. So Kristen, how was we just wrapped up, or at least I just wrapped up today, week 2 of our coaching program. How did week 2 go in your section?
uh, Great. We did 100 successes. We delivered some psychoeducation around what is happening in the brain of a person with ADHD that we have researched. And we did our Dear ADHD letters. And I must say, as many as I've written, it was the first time I was not necessarily mad because I've been mad at ADHD, but it's the first time I said, fuck you, ADHD. And it felt a little liberating.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of my favorite things about the Dear ADHD exercise. For the folks at home who don't know, this is a framing exercise we do where we like to engage with our ADHD in a different way, with a conceptual exercise where we take our ego out of the equation by seeing ADHD as something external to us. What would we say to ADHD if it was a person and we could communicate with it, which sounds a little funny at first. I remember it sounded odd to me when I first encountered it back in season 22, but it can be a really powerful exercise. And yeah, if we don't get at least one fuck you ADHD letter, I start wondering who's holding back.
I was the only one. We got some, negative talk to it, but this time I've had one every season, every section, and I was the one this time, which
Excellent.
surprised me. Surprise! So I fulfilled our quota. Not really
Yeah.
quota. We're just kidding about that.
My first ADHD Dear ADHD letter was something along like this. Uh, Dear ADHD, fuck you,
Mhm.
fuck you, fuck you,
Mhm.
fuck you.
Yeah,
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
absolutely.
Then I went into it like four sentences, and then I was like, I fucking hate you. Bye.
And that's totally valid. What I love about the Dear ADHD exercise is that we're getting in touch with the real emotions and the underlying experience, what we internalize after living a lifetime with ADHD and having to adapt to that successfully or unsuccessfully. And I like to draw this distinction with our coaching program. Yeah, our coaching program is different than a productivity course. It is a productivity course. We cover many productivity specific tools and activities and strategies. We cover, how to reimagine a lot of productivity tools for ADHD people and neurodiverse people. Like we revisit how to do, calendar management and goal setting and to-do lists and technological tools. We do cover all of that, but we really believe that to really change our experience of ADHD, to really shift our behaviors, we also have to take a holistic approach where we are accepting and embracing all those underlying and negative feelings. And there's a tendency, a lot of us want to put a happy face on everything. We want to say, yeah, I feel great, and ADHD is my superpower. But if we're I go to great lengths to make this point with my coaching sections, that I frame everything in the positive. I adhere to generally to the principles of a concept called like positive psychology, but positive psychology, or framing things in the positive, loses all meaning if we're not also embracing the negative things, if we're not also looking at the underlying things. And I make it clear that my coaching sections are a toxic positivity free zone, where if you're mad about it, if you're upset about it, if you're feeling frustrated or down, or you have negative self-talk, let's bring that out into the light. We are not going to sweep it under the rug or pretend it doesn't exist. And Dear ADHD Letters is one of the really great exercises we get to bring us out there for that. That kind of helps us do that.
I'm reflecting on what you said about the, people will tend to go, everything's fine, everything's fine. There is that other group of, handful of people too who will go, nothing's fine, everything's awful, I'm awful. They have so enmeshed themselves with their ADHD that they feel like that's all they are. And that's what I love about the 100 successes exercise that we do at the beginning of the week. It helped pull it apart for me to go, oh, wait, I did that and that had nothing to do with my ADHD. Wow, that's just me, even though I believe ADHD is part of that. Just like part of it is I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I'm a dancer. Yet some of my successes, and as we explore that, we discover, how small can a success be to be a success? And is it more about just how we define it?
Absolutely. That's I also for the folks at home, 100 successes is another framing exercise we do where we examine what our success is, or what we believe the concept of success is. And it can be really linear, like success is completing a project or a task on time or to a certain degree of satisfaction, but it can also be extrapolating out to the idea of being a successful person and what the qualities of that are, and whether our definition of success is actually our definition or the one that has been conditioned into us by our families, by our bosses, by our coworkers, by capitalist consumerist culture, by consumerism. All of those things, messages are inevitably, it's like pollution in the environment. Insidiously seeps into our self-concept, our ideas of ourselves and what we feel our success of. And many people have never really paused to consider what the difference is. And as ADHD folks, who we often internalize these messages that we are less worthy, we're less capable, we are less deserving of recognition, it really filters into that. So our idea, when we ask people to participate in this exercise where we list out successes in our lives and what they are, I point out our definition of success will absolutely change what comes out when we list what a success is. And it makes us, again, it's deceptively simple exercise, but once we engage in it, many folks are like, wow, I really never thought about it that way. And
I'm
it's also
curious. I was going to ask Javier, with all of that, such a great description, Brian, of what we're doing in that session. Really is. It's just this full on conversation, exploration, and shares and insights about it. And I love that session day. I'm curious, Javier, if any of what you experienced in that first conversation has kind of changed or grown or morphed, like the definition of successes or how you see them now at this point, because you went through the program in 2021 or two.
You're my admin. I'm really bad with years. Like I have no idea when things
Yeah, I think it was
happen.
2021, later
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I believe you.
I say it a lot when I went through, and you went through only a couple seasons after me.
Yeah. Not really bad. It was like Joe. I always have to ask Joe when our anniversary is. I know the date, the month, and the date, but never know the year. I was like, what year was it?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I think that that was a really great description, and I've witnessed many 100 successes exercises, and it's challenging for just about everyone to do this exercise. And what for me, and like many others in that go through ARC, some people are diagnosed very early in life, some people are diagnosed in later, and some people are diagnosed later and like deny it, and they go through like,
Mm-hmm.
so for me, I was diagnosed in my 20s, and my doctor went through the whole checklist back then, a checklist back then, and he goes, absolutely. He goes, you're always talking, you always cut me off, you're always like, he was like kind of like the way he was saying it, he's like, there's no doubt about it. And here's this, blah blah blah. But it took me a diagnosis in my 20s, in my 30s once again, and then finally in my 40s when I said, okay, I have ADHD. So there's a,
Success and
yes,
acceptance.
exactly. So my successes were, I looked back, and mind you, I have a lot of experience before ARC. I had a lot of experience with different types of therapy, different types of groups. So my successes were hard to write because they were always tied to some very highly emotional thing.
Mm.
And the things that I did do that were accomplishments, I could not remember that I did them. So I
Wow.
only remembered the really hard stuff that I was able to accomplish, which really heavily, was really heavy. Like
Yeah.
things that I would not share here right now, actually. Uh, I mean, you, Kristin, you heard it, but you probably forgot it because
Right.
so
Well,
many.
I'm curious because that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like the thing of we tend to highlight all the things we do wrong and other people around us, bosses, colleagues, and they don't highlight the things we do right. I'm curious, has that changed for you? Have you found strategies, or if it's even been helpful to you to try to highlight things that weren't heavy, yet we're still there's
Yeah,
successes.
yeah. Well, not only that, but I was able to talk to some people that were on that were part of that success, and
Oh,
say,
wow.
and share it with them. In particular, my sister. Like I remember we had a conversation that was really deep, and when I was really young with her, and it changed her life. We
Hmm.
were very, very young. And she goes, Javier, I want you to know I'm never gonna forget that. She goes, when I look at you, I remember that.
So I want to make sure I understood this. Was it the conversation you went back and had with her that she felt like changed her life, or was that the information you gathered by having the
No, when
conversation?
we spoke, like we never spoke about like certain
Oh.
things. And then when I finally brought it up, because I had forgotten about a lot of different things, and I brought it
Mm-hmm.
up. She's like, oh no. She's like, I remember that every time I talk to you or see you, because you changed my life.
Oh, wow.
So, and mind you, like everybody has different backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
right? And mine was heavy and intense, and now I'm able to share things that are a little bit lighter, and like I walk my dog around the block and I didn't yell at him or something like that, right? Like, or I was really focused on my dog today for the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like I made like a conscious decision to um be with what like certain things that mean a lot to me, to be present for it, and
I'm
try to
here.
remember those times. Is
I'm
that
hearing that you're noticing at this point, you weren't noticing the impact, the healthy impact it was having on you for those, what you look at and go, they're smaller successes. And now you notice that impact on you and how it is a really big success.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Like for me, it had to be something really emotional, heavy, and ginormous in order to make it to the document. I was good. It was pretty full.
Yeah, that's a pretty hard reframe for a lot of our folks to accept, that like even simple things, that it feels like toxic positivity to say, oh yeah, I did this simple thing, quote, there's a judgment in there. I'm putting, for those who are just listening, I'm putting air quotes around simple. But when you're living with with ADHD, which is a processing disorder of the brain that touches everything that we do in different ways, it absolutely does count. One reframe that comes up a lot, it came up for me, was initially, it was like when I was struggling with the 100 successes, 'cause I was one of the most successful things I've had with my ADHD management is shifting my mindset. I have a completely different mindset a couple of years ago when I started doing this work. And I said I wanted to put down, graduated high school, but I thought, most people do that, and that's not a big deal. But then I shifted it to graduated high school while dealing with undiagnosed ADHD.
Yes.
And that
Exactly.
completely
Right.
shifts the perspective. Like, holy shit, how did I do that? Because
It
today I have so many resources. I've done all this work. I have all this information, but I might be dating myself, back in the early 90s, there was not nearly as much information, and I did not have those resources. I was very much isolated. I didn't really know. I didn't get diagnosed until I was almost a senior in college.
so
But
undiagnosed and independently.
yeah.
Self-determination, you use so much because I did this too. You use so much self-determination. It takes away the supposed to from those things that we want to identify as successes. Oh, well, everybody's supposed to graduate high school. Whatever our private logic is that we grow up and form based on all the experiences
The
around us.
qualifier.
Yeah.
Like we always qualify something. Yeah, I did that, but it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, and one thing that comes out of that, of the 100 successes exercise, is my idea of the yardstick. The yardstick that we use to measure our kind of worth and our how we feel like we're doing in the world. And intuitively, just because we're humans and we're social animals, we compare ourselves to other people in our peer groups. However, if we are living with ADHD and it's unmanaged, or even worse, undiagnosed, we don't even know, and we are intuitively comparing ourselves to other folks, most of whom are neurotypical, we are using a neurotypical yardstick to evaluate our own behavior. And that will always set us up to not do so well. I don't want to use the word fail, but it sets us up, it puts us at an inherent disadvantage, a self-imposed disadvantage. So that's why when we look at the 100 successes, some people ask, like, why are we doing this? Why do we look at this? That's what comes out, that when we read between the lines, that what comes out, that awareness that like our ideas of success are keyed to what other people, mostly neurotypical people's expectations of success are. We are fundamentally different biologically. So that's why we need to make our own yardstick, just by evaluating ourselves, accepting and starting from where we are and seeing what we are capable of, and then do that. And some folks have pointed out there's inherent judgment in there. I'm not lowering the bar right at all, but what I'm pointing out is that we need to have realistic expectations that are based on our actual experience.
Before we
yes,
tag
and
off,
no, go ahead.
before we tag off, I want to share too, for that caveat of people out there that's more like me in thinking, when I started to reframe don't compare to others, I started making my own bar by, oh, I got a B on this. Now I can't get a B or below on the next thing. Oh, I got an A on this. Oh my gosh, I can never get below an A. I was creating a bar based on my own last experience. And that can really drive to perfectionism and thinking like that. And so there's that element too. There's that track to think on too. And I have reshaped my mindset away from that too. And I love that because yeah, there's that comparing to people, and there's also these people who do it to themselves.
The one little thing I want to add about this is that the messaging that we hear as children with undiagnosed ADHD usually is that so many negative messages, much more than are neurotypical, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I don't really know the number.
I think it's
forgot the
3
number.
times as much or
Oh,
six.
there's multiple studies about that. They
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
neurodiverse children can get up to 20,000 negative messages by the time they're age 8 to 10 or something.
Right. I've
And
heard
Yeah.
that
something
one.
there. But and we don't know, we are just beginning to really understand and unpack how that affects the development of children, especially in those key developmental years, like ages 3 to 5, 8 to 10. Kristen, you can speak to that much more better than I can.
Oh,
Yeah, because you,
But
it
it comes
totally
up, right?
happens.
yeah,
It
oh,
comes up.
absolutely.
It,
It
it
comes
does.
up in the in 100 Successes, because while you're writing, it's still early in the program. You're writing. You're remembering all of that messaging,
Or
right?
even worse, like we're acting on it, but it's in our subconscious.
Yeah. So
And some of the experience that I've had around this is when I worked inside the schools as a social work therapist, I would go to meetings and they would talk about how Johnny was talking and talking and talking and never shut up, never shut up. Oh, yesterday he didn't say a word. And I was like, did you celebrate with him? Did you use that as a success? Or did you just turn it into that's what he's supposed to be doing? Because it was a success. It was hard work. And so we get the negatives and we often don't get the flip of when we work on that negative and, fill up to their standard, whatever that is, they don't always notice it.
Mhm.
I find that I need that a lot. And I
That's what
need to hear, oh, you were on time.
what you're describing right now, as well as all the overt messaging about ADHD. Like I got teased by the kids in my high school because I had to go to the special ed room.
Mm,
So like there's the subtle messaging, then there's the overt messaging, and that's what can create that core belief, that core limiting belief of being less capable, less deserving, less worthy as other people, that we're not even aware consciously that we're doing, but it absolutely shapes our lives. And exercises like Dear ADHD and 100 Successes totally indirectly force us to kind of confront that and re-examine it. And it can be really, really powerful for some folks, especially the Dear ADHD, but some of the light bulbs I saw going off over people's heads during that 100 Successes discussion was, it's always good to see. It always warms my heart to see people kind of embracing how amazing they really are.
a thing about like warming your heart, like yesterday I had an aha moment. Well, actually, Eric did, and we're talking about like how hard we are on ourselves, some people, and Eric like paused, and he's like, Javier, we were talking about that this was my 5th season adminning, and one season I went to the coaching of my own, and he goes, Javier, he goes, you're nothing what you were like during coaching. You realize that? He goes, do you realize how hard you were on yourself? I was like, because yesterday happened to be a challenging technology day. My internet went down, my backup system went down, like everything was just going crazy. I was like texting with Eric and Madeline, the other admin.
mhm.
But I was pretty cool, and I was like kind of like laughing about it. I was like, haha, like And Eric was like, again, he was like, Javier, he goes, you're just like a different person. I was like, oh my gosh, you're right.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
still,
just
I went,
smile more, or you know what it is? Before I had a rule, like I had to like look straight at the camera like this. Okay, let's do this. It was all business, it was like that. And I just decided like I don't like looking at the camera, and I'm just gonna look around because that's how I think.
Mhm.
And giving yourself permission to do those sorts of things makes me a happier person. I mean, I don't think I'm ever gonna be like the happy person, but like happy for me. You know what I mean? Like this is happy for me.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly.
Success that matches your values.
And measuring happiness for you with your own yardstick, what your version of happiness and success looks like. And I totally relate. I remember I went back when I started adminning, I went back and watched some of the recordings of my original season. And oh yeah, I remember being that person, but I also remember like I was giving off major serial killer vibes. Like I was really high, I didn't talk much, I didn't know how to enter conversations, and now you can't shut me up. Now I
I,
have a
sh-
hard time keeping my sessions to 60 minutes because I just want to talk about it all day.
I should have
But
done a spit take right then. I drank right on cue as you said that. I almost spit out my
But
cup.
now if I've been successful at anything with ADHD management, it has been shifting my mindset. And what my takeaway, what I learned is like, that's what has to be about. It can't just be about using productivity tools as a turbo booster to make us more productive, which we also
Right.
talk about those, but it's also about shifting our mindset because the two things kind of work together. And speaking of time and me going on over time, like we're doing right now,
Oh, this
I'm
was so
it
good though. This was great. Thank you,
really is.
Javier.
Thank you guys. It was awesome. I really
Yep.
enjoyed it a lot. This is
We will be
great.
back next week to talk about week 3 as we are rolling out our accountability groups, which is where we break into smaller teams to work on exercises together. And it's really, really exciting. And I can't wait to tell you all about it.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Thank
Awesome.
y'all. Have a great weekend and next week.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Bye.